Hello! Over to Wodgy Boy for the Drupal sprints and ladders, everyone.
Like I said, I understand that this is the last talk of the day and we're all flagging a bit now and looking forward to sort of getting back to our families and getting on trains and this, that and the other. It's not a technical talk, so you can sort of put your grey matter to one side of it. It's more of a rallying cry to try and get people to sort of come to events like Drupal Yorkshire and NW Doug and start contributing and hopefully start joining the learning ladder. This is me. I'm Wodgy Boy, well Woodhead, and somebody named that as well. And just in order for it, because somebody said at the last talk and everyone would want to go, I'll put that slide in. Thank you, any questions at this point? So we can just call it and wrap it up here. I'm from Rochdale, just over the hill, the other county, which is the birthplace of the co-op, and for me, you know, the cooperative movement is a lot linked to what it is that we do now, to do with things like open source and such like. And that's what I often ask myself, and it's the same with a lot of people in this sphere that I'm in, is, you know, how did I end up here? You know, what am I doing on a sunny Sunday afternoon, stood in front of, you know, fellow people like myself that have given up their Sunday afternoons and we start developing websites and do strange things like this? Because I didn't mean to be here. It's all by chance. So I was a geek, I became a chef, I had a kid, realised I couldn't be a chef again, so I became a geek again. Because I got time to spend with my kids. So in order to retrain in this sort of path to geekery, it was like, you know, what do I do? So you go online and you have a look and you see what's out, and you know, there's all these people that have a big optimization, do training, you've all got the big logos, you know, like your Microsoft, your Cisco's, your CompTIAs, and essentially I had to sell a kidney or borrow a load of money and do some training. So I did all this sort of certifications over time, short period of time, did like the CompTIA, A+, like computer hardware, networking, then did some Cisco stuff, a lot of Microsoft stuff, because these were the market leaders, these were what I came across. If you want a career in IT, this is what you do. It seems to be the sort of most countdown path that's obvious. When you start seeing the figures, I mean, these are old figures, you know, that these training companies make, you know, there's big money in selling you training in things like Microsoft, Cisco, CompTIA. There's a lot of money in it. And I got a job at a further education college as an IT support technician, and I was ahead of my time because I was on a 0 hours contract way before they hit the press. And it was, to be honest with you, it was really, really poor money, but you know, that's what I said to myself, you know, I just want the experience and I want to learn. All these people here, there's lots of clever people, it's a college, you know what I mean? They're all going to like really help me and really sort of, you know, help me up this learning curve. But it's not like that. You know, this sort of, these so-called learning environments, you know, when people start paying money for the training, they're more reluctant to share it. And my boss actually told me that. You know, I asked him how to do something. You know, he said, if I told you, you know, then you know as much as me, that devalues me. You know, so it's like protectionism of knowledge rather than knowledge sharing. So obviously that stifles innovation, restricts knowledge growth. For any organisation or community like, you know, the Drupal community. So I left and I set up No Worries IT back in 2006. And we did the usual stuff, IT support, networking training, based on that training that I'd paid money for. And anything slightly technical, people phone me up to put a plug on the kettle and things like that, because it's near the servers. And yeah, obviously, I still say that quite frequently. I do try and reword it like on the IT. But that's the question I used to get asked the most. When I'd go in to see a client and they'd say, you know, they wanted a small business server with an Aspergestra on the top. But they all ask that question, do you do websites? So, of course. Yeah, of course we do. No, we didn't. But I said, yeah, of course we do. So we went down the usual route, right, we do websites, have a look. So we just got Dreamweaver. Same again, just that line of best fit. So we've got Dreamweaver, went to template sites, changed the logos, made the website look like their website, just static HTML sites. Yeah, sell them cheap, stack them high. But then people started asking for like functionality in their websites, you know, so they want like contact forms, they want to capture the fields of that contact form for databases, they want to return output from forms filled in, and that's one that we did as well, was working out commissions of monthly premiums paid over 23 months and all the display that output to senior management. Which you're doing that with static HTML sites and you're trying to dabble with PHP. As somebody that's not had any formal training in programming and stuff like that, it becomes really, really tricky. But I mean, we did find a lot of open source things seem to be like popping up. Someone saying, why don't you try PHP? And so we did PHP and Apache and what have you. And then we found CMSs where this stuff was intrinsically sort of built in. So, all right, great. So you can create a web form, you can do this. So I started off with Drupal and hated it, absolutely hated it, and did a bit of a tour and WordPress and Joomla, and I went back to Joomla. But then after sort of a year or so, I started dabbling with Drupal again and seeing.
Which version did you like?
Yeah, I think it was the tail end of 5. Yeah, the tail end of 5. I can't put my finger on why. I think it's because you think it's going to be a cure-all. Oh, it's a CMS, it does this, but and because before I could do that, them templates, I could make websites that look really, really pretty. Then also I get Drupal, it's got functionality, but shit, I can make it look pretty. It was like that sort of thing, that I really sort of struggled with. And then in the end, I decided, with the actual community and everything involved about it, that Drupal was the one that did provide the best solution, and it was me that needed to sort of adapt to how I worked with Drupal. But like I said with Drupal, and especially a new eager person that's just got their hands on something, I said it's not a steep learning curve, it's a smorgasbord, because I was like a cat amongst the pigeons. I wanted to enable all 30,000 modules that are out there. It's like, because that's what happens. They call it like contrib feature frenzy. I would like selling stuff to people that didn't want it because it was like over engineering. But because especially more so back then, it's not as bad now. But when you're sort of learning in relative isolation, even like searching the internet and things like that, there were very few online resources. If anything now, there's probably too many. You just like information overload a lot of the time, so it's making sure that you find the right one to get the online resources. Like I said, my module frenzy, just absolutely downloading every module and ticking it and then just trying to sort of make that work. Coming to grips with like views, for somebody that's sort of new to it, and you come in and views and the power of views, and it's just like, it's huge, and panels and display suite. And like I said, theming, working on the themes. We have bad practice, working on live sites, we have no version control, doing everything via FTP. Just like, it's the habits that you take forward from when you're using Dreamweaver and working on static sites. So I found some like local user groups. I actually found a PHP Northwest First. That's a really, really good user group that helps with all sorts, and they have like a monthly meetup, but they also have like little individual meetups. It's like Lamp and Beyond, like things like that I've got great learning from. It's all been, free, but it's just teaching you about the lamp stack and things like that, stuff that was sort of alien to me before. And they put me in touch with like NWDog, and then other people at Drupal Yorkshire. And essentially all that sort of community learning, these little bits that you sort of get in 1 hour, would you say? How long would you say like a meetup lasts? An hour, hour and a half? When we meet up at Drupal Yorkshire, or there'll be a talk of somebody asking a few questions, we'll go to the pub, we'll talk about Drupal, which is great. But in actual terms of like learning, it's a very sort of brief time. So the goal of the Drupal ladder is to have 1% of the Drupal community contributing to core by 2014. I mean, they've fallen way short of that when it's 2014. There's not that many people contributing. And the Drupal ladders it's open to contributions and collaboration from anyone. So what I'm saying about things like views, or because that's one thing there's not a shortage of in the Drupal community is opinion. So if there's something on there like a ladder about views, for instance, that or there isn't, you can create one. Or if there's one there that you think is rubbish, you can put your opinion in, you can change it, and it's reviewed. And because that's the beauty of open source, and I found open source, you know, it's that it is, you know, the opposite of fixed. You know, it's just constantly peer reviewed, and that's what makes, and especially Drupal, you know, because people focus in on Drupal, like WordPress, how you might have 500 modules that do the same thing because they're all monetized. Whereas with Drupal, it focuses in on the best one to use, and I think it's a little bit the same with like the learning ladders and things like that. But because everybody focuses in with their opinion, it makes it better. So these are the sort of 5 main areas that the steering group are concentrating on, and that's the actual distribution itself of Drupal 8. Ladders and lessons, trying to get learning sprints and issue sprints, and integrating it with the community, us, for knowledge sharing initiatives. And like I said about the meetups, when we meet up at NWW and things like that, it's a case of, you know, we have a technical talk, which is brilliant, but then I think we're just all sort of slow pops at the pub, and then, you know, we're talking. It'd be great if we actually spent a little bit more time in like anyone been to a bar camp? Yeah, you know, like a bar camp, yeah, where you stick stickers up and, you know, people want to know about this topic. Because we often get that at our user group, that somebody will come in and want to know about a specific topic, and it never really gets addressed, you know, because it's kind of quite fast moving, you know, you have to talk, and we'll go to the pub and someone will ask about a topic. But if we had something where we could actually, you know, stick stickers up and do things like that, and share knowledge. These are the people who are the steering group behind it, Addison Berry, which we've heard about a million times in a million videos. But yeah, these are the people, and not entirely sure about that, but there you go. Now, I think the next slide, I can't say it's not doubled up, is just, this is a really good cop-out. It's a little 5-minute video from Heather at Acquia about the Drupal ladder and why we should do it. She just puts it far more eloquently than me. It's not that one, it's the next one, I think. And these are just some core mentoring things like Drupal mentoring and also the Drupal ladder, these sites. Drupal mentoring you can sign up for, and somebody can actually mentor you with that. And the Drupal ladder itself, which I'll show you shortly. And this is core office hours, that's Drupal mentoring from, of course, I think that's Wednesday afternoons, which isn't very practical. Or Tuesday afternoons. There's a video.
But just under the link to this recording of me speaking, show it to your meetup and talk about it and see what you guys would like to do. I'm going to tell you about the Drupal ladder, what the mission is should you choose to accept it, and of course what the next steps are. And the first thing I want to say is it's a massive challenge that we have ahead of us. On a positive note, of course, we should recognize that the number of actual contributors to Drupal core has gone up. Yet, the number of issues has been skyrocketing. In the 8 months after Drupal 7 was released, there were 9,000 open issues in the core issue queue. It's really impossible for contributors to keep up. You know, this includes users making and creating tickets and making suggestions and all potential improvements. So this means, as a percentage of the total Drupal users on Drupal.org, it's actually gone down. So as a percentage, contribution has actually gone down. And we want to get to 1% by 2014 in order to make the project and the project sustainable. So you're probably wondering, how can we do it? Well, we're going to get people on the ladder. The Drupal ladder is a clear, step-by-step, mentored way to get involved in contribution. The ladders themselves are actually a series of lessons. You can acquire the skills that you need. There's the Drupal ladder that just gets you set up with Git, learning how to write, for example, patches against a botched copy of an earlier version of Drupal 8. We actually write an issue for a known issue, write a patch for a known issue, and that will be individual multilingual ladders and individual initiative ladders. So the ladders themselves can be broken up into the idea of the learn sprint and the issue sprint. So the learn sprints are the first 5 steps on the Drupal ladder. It really only takes about an hour. You know, if you don't finish it all at this meetup, you know, you get your Git installed, And just enough time to get started on the issue queue. Just come back next week, test some patches, and ready to patch. The issue sprints are 2 to 3 hours long, and at that point, you actually go out and find a core system that you're passionate about. And that's what's really great about this, is that you go and find something aiming towards is to get more maintainers up that ladder. So people are prepared to maintain performance or different initiatives. And that would be great to see. So the great thing is it's different. It's really about connecting people. So this isn't about just making learning material available. It's not a video, it's not a book. It's really about getting people to help others, those people who want to help others. And the guidance and mentoring is built in and baked into the whole process. And you're probably wondering how we know this works. Well, it's actually been done. It was started with the Boston Drupal user group, and they actually developed the initial ladders and this whole concept. And by the time DrupalCamp Yorkshire happened, they had 10 user groups holding issue sprints, and they released there's actually a release of Drupal ladder, the distribution itself, that's what they wanted with, and Drupal ladder.org itself. And since Munich, we can say that basically up until now there have been 20 cities involved in running events. And just since Munich, there's user groups in India, Costa Rica, US, and the UK, so you can really see this as a big global effort. And probably wondering now, what is the goal? Well, the goal right now is to get 30 more user groups involved with holding issue sprints. So it's time to start with learn sprints and then issue sprints. And I should say we also want to have more curricula or ladders developed for major Drupal initiatives. So we want to have every by the following term, that'll be up until DrupalCon. Well, that's going to be Prague now. Every active user group, we're hoping that they will have held an issue sprint by that time. So that's 2 out of 100 active users actually identified as potential contributors. And then we want to see 1 out of 100 active users actually contributing by March 2014. So there's people who are going to watch your presentation in your user group, and they would be part of that next wave of contributors. So the great thing is Drupal 8 development is quite different from Drupal 7. The initiatives are really awesome. It's distributing people's passion and helping people get organized around specific topics. And mentoring is built into the process. You can go to j.mp/d8 board, and you can see this list of updates from a particular initiative, find out where meetings are, and actually identify specific issues that you can help out on. It's very well organized. And there's also the core mentoring hours. So this is weekly guidance to learn how to get your patches reviewed, and it's really it's great to put your windows open there and people are getting help they need. So the next steps, what can you do? Organize a sprint if you can. This is one held in Costa Rica by Nexus IT. And if you want to know how to organize a sprint, you can find out how to on groups.drupal.org/Drupal-ladder. And there you can get help. And you can also talk with us on IRC Drupal-ladder. And if I want to decide which type of sprint you want to run, the first thing you run is a learn sprint. Make sure everybody's set up with it, knows how to use the issue queue, knows how to test and write patches, and then you follow up with an issue sprint. So find what your group is interested in. Maybe you've got a lot of people that get involved. The Quake initiative, or maybe like people get involved in some other aspect of your development. And after you run your sprint, tell people about it. Here at Torchbox, based in Oxford, they actually ran a learn sprint and then they blogged about it. And this is what I want to see. Tweeting out the events, taking photographs of them, and tell people about it. And even if you can't run one right now, tell your own Drupal meetup about it, and present this at maybe a DrupalCamp, and share these links and help people get involved. And Karen Cassio, she's actually helping people run learn sprints, and Brock Boland is helping people run issue sprints. There's more information about the steering group, people behind the whole thing, on DrupalCamp.org. And all the links you need are here, and we're looking forward to hearing from you.
So yeah, so like I said, she puts it more eloquently than me in a Connecticut accent. So like I was talking about before, about like the fact that, you know, the sort of cut through path to all the big things, you know, like your Microsoft, Cisco training and things like that. As a community, I think we could sort of help each other. We've got the knowledge base to sort of help each other learn. And like, I think we've had 4 sprints in Manchester in the last sort of 6 months. We're trying to get them every month. It's difficult. And like that, what it says is quite funny actually. It says, you know, you're setting up the learning ladder, it takes about an hour. No, I don't. You know, because a lot of people using a lot of different type of systems, and you know, getting everything set up is often quite a lengthy process. And we're actually talking about doing one in Leeds as well. We were on about a couple of months ago saying that we were going to do one either in Curb's offices or probably better in Curb's office in here. To set one up. So, like I said before, I've learned in a really, really hacky, haphazard way, which I guess most of us have. Where if we sort of, the ladder does like what Heather says, you know, we can get like all user groups and presenting their accounts and start using the ladder and contributing to it. It teaches you in a structured way going up the ladder, you know, which ways to sort of do it. But there's also other things in there. There's like the D8 twig theming system in the that needs doing. But there's actually, I like it. Dare I use the internet? Come on, we're gonna do. So actually on the ladder itself, it sort of breaks up. So you've got the core ladder. It'll work, yeah. You see that, all right? So like I said, I mean, if you click on each one, you know, you've got an introduction to Drupal. I think you're all still here on a Sunday after a full weekend of Drupal, you don't need that one. But just about installing Drupal locally, which on the Learn sprint, you was surprised how long that takes, you know, with everybody being set up with different things. And people that have actually been working with Drupal for a long time haven't got the local dev environment set up at all. And it's sort of, on this, the documentation is really, really good. And for everyone, there is a Drupal video which I've somehow clicked on, or somebody clicked on. That's me. Where's that coming from? Hello. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, so this is just what I'm saying. I don't know how that's ended up on there, but yes, it's just like a simple little video. I clicked that by mistake, the slide. So it's saying there's like specific ladders for all sorts, like using views, theming, and if there's something that you think that should be there, you can actually put that you suggest a ladder, and people will start putting it on there. So yeah, there's all this is me recording things with no internet, you see. So there's a Drupal core ladder, and that's why that video came on. Forgot about that. Yeah, so you know, you can just work your way up the ladder. And there's videos for sort of every step. There's a Drupalize Me video, and there's good documentation. This is our sprint in Manchester. It tends to break up into sort of tables of ability, if you like. So I mean, obviously, like a lot of the sort of rockstar developers don't want to sit in the learning ladder, but people are there to sort of help and ask. I mean, we did have an issue. I think people sort of maybe some people sort of turned up and didn't particularly want to contribute, just wanted to sort of get bits or whatever. But if we try and make it where we have the learning table, then you know we've got the learning sprint going, and people can then move through. There's at least 14 user groups in the UK, probably more than that now in the but so if every one of these have a monthly sprint or learning ladder, then it's in sort of touching distance. The ones that are in London are brilliant. I mean, I see it online. You've got quite a few of them, don't you, Jenny? I've seen it a few of the London sprints.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're able to get really good numbers. And
it's actually going on right now.
Is it?
It is this weekend.
Right, yeah. So, you know, and they always run a learning sprint too, you know, to get people's dev environment. So you're starting off with best practice as opposed to having to hack about. But, I mean, this is, you know, my rallying cry that I think all the user groups that we attend, if there isn't one, set one up, you know, say, you know, we need a monthly sprint. It doesn't have to be like a big group, it can just be like 4 if you get that environment set up and you know, just encourage people to sort of start contributing and also learning. And what I was saying about it as well, especially now with the Acquia certification, our local sort of digital space at MadLab, there is constantly training for things like WordPress, and I think that we are lacking in that space as a community. You know, that we should be saying like, you know, I mean, this is £200. That one is that a charge one? That one? I can't remember. But I know they do one that you pay to do. But I'm saying that we had that as a regular thing where people could come along and actually train, and you know, we'd create a space and get more developers. Because the idea is to get a regular learning resource, and I think it's the same as like with meetups. If you start changing when we have meetups and things like that, it becomes confusing. People don't turn up. If we said like, you know, the last Saturday of every month or something, or even just every, you know, one night. It doesn't have to be a full day of a job. You know, we can just have like I think we said that they're like mini sprints. I think at the Cambridge one said that, wasn't it? That they have like a mini sprint at one of the meetups. But it encourages best practice. You know, from ninja rockstar coders to fledgling site builders. And the best way to learn is from your peers, from people that are actually doing it, that are in the same sort of thing as you. It contributes to code and lightens the path. But also, I feel this way that if I'm helping somebody to do something, I then understand it better myself. So when you actually teach somebody how to do something, you actually fully understand it then. You know, I might not have fully understood it before, even though I've been doing it, but to actually teach somebody to do it, it sort of forces you to fully understand what it is that you're doing. Well ahead of schedule, which is cool. So thank you, and any questions? Even better.
I just wanted to say that I think that was an important point that you made at the beginning, whereas when you're in like a contractor environment, there's this competitive thing where you don't want to give away knowledge.
Yeah.
But in this, I mean, I'm involved in a couple of different communities. This one was first, and do Node.js and Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And they're all the kind of open areas where people actually want to help you to.
That's right. Yeah.
And you know, I really get a feeling from Drupal that there's always somebody there to guide you. You know, if you don't ask, somebody will come along and say, "Are you okay?" Yeah. You know.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, it's like the opposite of intellectual property. Like it really is open source.
Yeah, but people aren't protective about their knowledge.
That's right, which is, you know, and you do like in a lot of the sort of vendor specific things. Like I said, if people pay for something, I think they tend to sort of feel a little more reluctant to share it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't mean that.
What goes around comes around, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
You get people that are far more advanced than you, passing them to you. And you pass it down to the next person.
Exactly, you're much more likely to do it. If somebody's like, you know, been kind enough to like, you know, share their time and knowledge and help you, then you're much more likely to talk. And that's how communities evolve.
Incentivise you to help others.
Yeah, and I think it's engaging. I think that, you know, like, because that's what a lot of communities struggle with, engagement. You know, so you can engage your user community by actually physically being involved. There's my argument. Sometimes it's like our local user group. You know, it's brilliant. Like, you'll have a technical talk. I remember once, I mean, there was some people come that were new to Drupal, you know, they were sort of building the first Drupal site, and the talk was about Selenium testing. Now, you know, it's great for us, but to them, you know, you could just see this sort of vague expression come over the face, and, you know, and they didn't really get the opportunity, I guess, to sort of ask the questions that they really wanted to ask. You know, that what they actually wanted out of that user group really didn't. Because it was just at the meetup where it's just normally a technical talk, and then it's like a bit of a confab after, and then they'd go to the pub. But I think if it's something like that where you can say, look, you can come down, it's free, it's a learning ladder, you can start, you know, right from scratch, set up your dev environment proper right from scratch. And I think that really engages people, and they're much more likely to keep coming back, and then yeah, as opposed to it just being like a technical talk. Or there's your hand over here as well.
I did the ladder in London. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
With Sally Young.
Right. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I was going to ask a question about contributing back. If you want the Drupal, the code base to remain clean, you need to learn a lot of standards. So those are a lot of things that you also get from writing a lot of code.
Yeah.
So when I started with the sprint plan, I was just wondering, what's at what level do they expect me to contribute? Because those who are quite experienced basically already overloaded with a lot of work.
Do you mean meet coding standards or contribute back?
to contribute back in fixing code patches, things like that. Because you're going to patch code.
Yeah.
You have to patch it correctly. You have to run
Yeah.
tests.
Yeah.
It's a whole process.
But yeah, that's right. It's got to pass the test, and it has to go through that when you write a patch in the actual ladder itself, which I probably should have showed you. But I mean, there is like write a patch and how to write that patch correctly. I think. Yeah, it goes through. Yeah, it does all that. I mean, you've got your automated tests. You've got all the emails.
Different ways. One might be more efficient with less review. Both will pass it. Depends on the level.
Yeah, but it's the code standards. I mean, a lot of it you can mark as novice. I mean, obviously you're not going to go in right at the start. You know, it's like the first one I'm going to be contributing to core. You know, or maybe you are, but it's like it's essentially there's like there's the novice. So you mark the task as novice, so you can get things that you can work on. And there's that, and you've got people there to help you. I mean, there's Matt is really good at stuff like that. I mean, he contributes. He's probably done about. Well, he's been here this weekend. I don't know. He's probably 100 commits or something. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? So it's like some people just don't stop. But on the other hand, it's like a lot of people don't start, and that's what this is about. Is because it's just about getting people onto that ladder, get them starting, and then hopefully, in time when them, them coding hours are in, then they'll start committing to core and it'll start being accepted. But I mean, obviously you've got to meet the coding standards anyway. So I was going to get my head doing that because it looks like a halo. In that screen though. This thing behind me. No worries.
One thing I found really interesting was my first comment was days and stuff DA core and it's minor reasons.
Yeah.
But I found stuff like even though in London have sprints happening and the global sprint January, I've still never been to it. And for some reason I intend to go, but I never managed to.
Start one. Do it. If you've not been to one, in fact there's one, like I said, there's one today in London. But yeah, just turn up. I mean, it's a really, I mean, not now, obviously you won't make it in time, but I mean, the Drupal one, it looks awesome. I'm incredibly envious, you know what I mean? It's like, they've got posh houses and big sprints. But no, it's, pardon?
We did it at the campus.
Yeah.
No, that's yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they've got a really good, really.
They've got sponsors.
They've got sponsors.
Yeah.
They've got people, a lot of them are contractors.
We might have in the northwest. We've got like little sponsors at Bio Pizza and stuff like that, which is brilliant. Thanks for that. But I think that we've been talking about this, that we might be having actual sponsors because we used to have a free space that we used to run the sprints in. Which Tech Up used to give us the free space. But I think we're charging for it now. So I mean. Yeah. But I mean, we've been talking this weekend that there's a possibility that we can actually fund it and have sponsors but even if we have that, it's back to that question of engagement. We can have sponsors, we can have the venue, but it's getting the people to come feel confident, because I think that's what it is. I think a lot of the time is people don't want to feel like they're going to be laughed at, or like I've been doing this for 5 years, but I've not got my dev environment set up. I've been working in this particular way, so they feel slightly intimidated of going into an environment like that. So it's a case of us sort of projecting a welcoming image that look, it's here and we can start here, and you're not just going to be going in and being expected to commit to core and whatever.
I actually found the issue queue quite intimidating until after I'd done the Drupal ladder.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's not as bad as you think.
Yeah.
Because they do actually show you how to deal with each thing, and it gives you a little bit of confidence.
Yeah.
I'm not a core contributor, but
no.
I'm not afraid to go in issue queues.
Yeah. Well, we used to do that at our NWW meetups, like a few years back. That we used to have a technical talk, and then we used to pick an issue after. I think Rob Mumford actually got in there with one that we did that, and it was just like, I think it was a missing semicolon. You know, somewhere, you know, it's like commit to colour.
Good feeling getting the first patch.
Yeah.
Do you think more needs to be done outside of that, like to get people into it, like to make it really easy?
To make it really easy to
People to get into a ladder session.
yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, so using things like Meetup, social media, tweet about it. You know, there's a ladder. You know, instead of saying like there's a sprint, we should be saying there's a sprint, the learning ladder. And yeah, so through social media and our community networks, that we should really promote it so people will come down.
Learning platform. Big Drupal.
Well, learning ladder could be anything, couldn't it? I mean, you could be learning to like, you know, hang wallpaper. I mean, I admit what you're saying, but you know, being Drupal ladder, I think it's like, you know, the clue's a bit more in the title of that one. So.
Drupal learning platform. I like that.
Yeah. But so the thing is, like I was saying before, is you know, from there being no resources to be loads of resources, but because this one's sort of supported by so many people and so much of the community, and everything's sort of focusing in on that, and you can create your own ladder as well. You know, so if there's something on there that you wanted, you could create that ladder and just, you know, publish it up there. So. Anything else?
Have you got any idea? I mean, how close to the 1% are we getting, or is it just?
The last time, yeah, it's no one here.
You're not even halfway there yet.
No. Because obviously the issue is still growing. You know, it's like that's the problem.
The file's always getting bigger.
That's it. Yeah, yeah.
Exponential.
It's like trying to dig an hole in water, isn't it?
Yeah.
That list of issues, that's 100% clear on. It's not the core issues about core Drupal.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be. You can pick an issue. You can pick something you're interested in, something you know.
But it's not about contributors modules.
It can be. Yeah, it can be. Like a lot of the sprints before, we do things like Amiga or, you know, the idea of it is to commit to core.
So that amount includes issues for contributors.
Oh no, sorry, no, that's core issue. No, sorry, that's core issue. Sorry, yeah. But I mean, at sprints, I mean, people often do their own stuff as well.
Yeah, because ages ago I did my patch.
Yeah, they see.
But I should have contributed.
Yeah.
But I never did because I didn't know how to contribute.
See, there you go. You see, that's what I'm saying. But there's a lot of people that have been working in Drupal for a long time that because there's not been that structured path. You know, like I said, out to, you know, like, well, you know, I've done it, but you know, I've got it running on my side. But really, I should have contributed
There's
that.
no real pressure for people to commit patches. It's do whatever you feel is contributing. It's kind of the
It's that.
vibe that I got.
Because it's that hacky mentality that sort of got us here in the first place, if you like, or me here in the first place. That yeah, it's not. But because now we're all here and it's like a community that we can have something where we can sort of make it a little bit more unified in how we learn, if you like. But obviously, still in an open source way, because if it's not good, obviously, it dies. You know, you can't. That's the beauty of open source. It's like if it don't work, it's gone. You know, if it's not good enough, it goes. It's replaced by something better.
I'm just going to make this. There's another nice presentation about this Travis CI. I think they're going to contribute a lot of patches. Having a structured system for automated testing as part of the contribution to the process will help. And that was quite nice. It does the test, you know, the code is okay. Before the peer review, you've got that.
We've got single sensors.
Simple.
Yeah, what they don't know is that they have their own situation framework they can't build themselves. So
when you contribute, you get the result.
yeah, there's a patch. There's a patch. We've got a patch and it actually prepared with the text. It's not as nice as Travis, but that's because it makes it
Better increasingly.
I know because I'm not open to it. Is that it?
Sorry about it.
Dreditor.
That helps. It fills up issues. We've got a bit of headers and stuff.
Yeah, so Dreditor is quite useful. Yeah, you can install that on. Can you install it on Chrome? Or is it just on Firefox Dreditor?
Yeah, I thought it was only correct.
I've got it on Firefox. So I don't know if you can do it on Chrome.
Yeah, one thing that's interesting, we make issues. So I found there was an issue with the installation tips on like Git stuff, and I sat there and said, how do I do it properly? But even making an issue sometimes, people don't want to do it on this like public software. So yeah, even little formatting issues with the HTML, because you need an issue.
See, I beat them next door. So.
Yeah. Or even if you're adding your company page to the marketplace, it ends up being an issue. Then it goes, you know, it needs review and all the rest of it. It just gets Unity, isn't it?
Yeah. It's practice and what familiar you get with it.
Yeah. There's not that big scary thing that there is.
You see, this is probably a really good place to start. The Mozilla Open Badge stuff.
It is, yeah, it really links on from that. And I love Mozilla Open Badges. I think it's a really, really good initiative, and I hope it properly takes off. And yeah, definitely. And also, you know, with the Crispin yesterday is apprentice program as well. Anyway, we're done.
Yeah.
Hey.
No, let me call you. So, it's locked.